Hello again and welcome to another Mordian Glory video. But is it even a Mordian Glory video? Or is it in fact the MG channel's new favourite personality? It is the man, the myth, the admiral. It is the SaltCast, baby! Simon, as always, a pleasure to have you here. You were getting glazed quite heavily in the stream yesterday.
It is only right, to be fair.
So those that don't know, Simon and I did a live stream battle report. By the time this comes out, that live stream battle report will be on the channel. It came out on Wednesday. So if you want to go and check it out, please make sure you do so. We'll try and make sure of a link down in the description to it. And we're having a bit of a chit and chat about what happened in that game. And as always, we're going to be trying to pull out some bigger lessons learned, some interesting comparisons, especially with Hammer of the Emperor versus Combined Arms. That's kind of the big topic that we've got for today. Attention guardsmen, the Mordian Glory channel is now officially sponsored by Wargames Atlantic. Wargames Atlantic sells fantastic multi-part plastic kits which are perfect for expanding and augmenting your guard army. Not only do you get a very generous amount of models for a very impressive price point, but also they have a bulk buy discount. The more you buy, the bigger you save. And what's even cooler is they've got loads of different designs to choose from. You've got your Bulldogs, which could count as Praetorians. You've got your Lagrognards, which could count as Mordians, Kriegers, or Vestorians. But if you're looking for something a little bit more modern sci-fi, maybe you're a big Aliens fan, then check out their Ura models, which could count as Cadians or Colonial Marines. So if you like what you see, then please click the affiliate link down in the description below. It's a great way of getting yourself some new models and supporting the channel at the same time. A huge thank you to Wargames Atlantic for sponsoring the channel, and now let's get back to the video. But Simon, it's been 2-3 weeks since we've done one of these, so how have you been?
I've been alright, yeah. Ready for a holiday.
You've only done one game with me, you're already ready for a holiday?
Well, I'm ready for a holiday anyway, Strange enough, I do have other work away from putting up with you. I mean, admittedly, like the one day every 2 weeks I have to put up with you is probably the hardest. But, apart from that.
How dare you, sir? How dare you? You did miss a great opportunity. You did miss the opportunity to say, well, I enjoyed the 2 weeks peace and quiet whilst I was on holiday.
Well, there is that as well, actually, yeah. Well, to be fair, I get 2 weeks peace and I can send you a message and then it takes you 2 weeks to reply. So sometimes it's not like you're away on holiday.
See, I'm so into 40k that I even adopt the communication style of 40k where like sometimes the messages get through and get responded to. Sometimes they get through and they don't get responded to. Sometimes I just ignore them, Sometimes I ignore them. I probably do need a PA, but I'm not going to get a
PA. You don't need to read your messages. I mean, it's not that difficult.
I did not start this channel to read.
Quite that big that, oh no, I'm too busy to read my
messages. I need my PA. I need my PA.
You have changed. You have changed.
No, honestly, I do just need to get better organized. Pretentious bullshit aside, I do need to just get a little bit better organized. But let's get to the bit that the people really want, Simon. Let us talk about, I was going to say Combined Arms and Hammer of the Emperor, but we're going to blue ball them a little bit. Because, Simon, I've been a busy bee. This has been recorded the day after our battle report. Yeah. So it has been less than 24 hours since our battle concluded, and I don't mean to alarm you, but what I lack in communication skills, I do make up for in building skills.
You built them, all right. I forgot what you said. I think you already had some built anyway.
No. I sort of partially built one of the guns when the Krieg box came out, and I was sort of going through the sprues. But if you have a look, I have converted them.
I was going to say, got different heads.
Yeah, buddy.
Where are they from?
They're from Wargames Atlantic. Big shout out to, it was actually community member Trooper 2102 when I was on holiday. He lives around the Florida area, and he had a bunch of spare Wargame Atlantic Bulldog heads, and he said, "Hey, do you want to like?" Well, I was doing a bit of a meetup with some of the guys, and he was like, "Hey, if I come down, do you want some spare heads?" And I was like, "Well, I'm always up for a bit of head," and so he came down. He gave me 120 heads, which will keep me going for a long time, and they do look very, very good. So shout out to Wargames Atlantic because these Bulldog heads are fantastic. And
yeah, shout any gas ones in there.
Yeah, I don't know if he's got any gas mask ones, but I'll ask. No, I know for a fact he's using all the gas mask ones for his own army. That's why he's got those ones spare. So shout out to him, and of course shout out to Wargames Atlantic because their models are fantastic, and the amount of spare, the fact that he's been able to build 120 infantry and have 120, have hundreds of heads left over is a pretty good testament to those kits. So yeah, but why am I building artillery teams, Simon?
Well, because it turns out I was right all along.
Simon was right again. You were right again. Go on. I've been waffling a bit. Take us through your experience with being on the receiving end and trying to defeat the artillery teams.
Well, they weren't that scary shooting wise. I'm not that, which is why I think 2's overkill. But actually, to kill the buggers is an impossible.
Yeah. You needed proper anti-tank to kill them, and you didn't have that.
No, I honestly thought I was going to power in with five assault intercessors. I thought, yeah, I'm going to toast them. How little did I know.
So to set the stage, we were playing Purge the Foe, and you were going for a late game. I'm going to have all the objectives at the end of the game to get the bonus points. And to be fair, if you had got those 4 points and I hadn't done that silly bullshit saving at the end where I saved 4 out of 4 6-up saves, then what would have happened is it would have been an 8-point swing, and it probably would have ended up being like a 10-10 or close to an 11-9. It would have been very, very close. So all Simon really needed to do to get a draw was for 5 jump back assault intercessors who are deep struck down to kill one artillery team, and the total number of wounds you did was 3.
And those were on the charge, weren't they?
Those are mortal wounds. Yeah. Crazy. They're very, very, very tanky.
Yeah.
What do you So I agree with you. I think their damage output was so.
Yeah.
But it wasn't any worse than anything else that I've been using recently.
Yeah, agree.
I think if we compare the last 4 games that I've used my guard in, 4 or 5 games, I've had basilisks, fobs, and this was the first time using the artillery teams. And out of all of those games, all of my indirect fire, I had 2 basilisks, 2 fobs, 2 sets of fobs to be clear, so 4 bombast cannons in total, and then I had 2 artillery teams. And out of all of those games, there's no difference in indirect fire. So there's no difference in the damage it was doing. No, I think you are. I think we have been right quite a few times, Simon. Not to wank ourselves off, especially not on YouTube. That's what the early fans is for. Mordian Glory Hole, check it out. Simon's salty poop deck. But no, serious discussion. We are serious people having a serious discussion, and we have been right. We called the Rogal Dawn thing. We called the artillery team thing. We've called a few other things, but I think you are right. Generally speaking, movement does win games.
That board yesterday had had 1 choke point on either turret. That was it. You look at the map. I've got it up now on the other screen. Looking at there was 1 choke point in my deployment zone. There was 1 choke point in your deployment, and that was it. There were no other choke points.
It was very good line of sight blocking, but not particularly movement blocking.
Yeah. So actually, would you have seen if we were playing on more dense terrain? Would you have been able to bring the whole shooting gallery against, and vice versa, both ways? But actually, if that terrain's more dense, do you pop 2 knights to first turn? First turn of proper shooting, I'll rephrase that.
I think I was lucky to get both knights that turn.
Yeah, but if we're playing on WTC, do you get enough to get line of sight on both knights? And
so I didn't get it. I didn't get line of sight first turn. I got line of sight turn 2 when you moved out to me.
the first round of proper shooting on a WTC board, do you get all that line of sight? No, you do not.
I am going to push back slightly. And the reason I'm going to push back slightly is because the answer to that is not the terrain. The answer to that is the player. Now, it's not me saying you're shit, Simon. What I mean by that is it's the player's decision to move units out. Because yes, there's more line of sight blocking terrain WTC, but you're a direct fire army. I'm mostly a direct fire army. So the only way that I can get line of sight to your units is if you bring them out for me to shoot them. And you brought those knights out to clear up the Chimera and the Scout Sentinel. So the answer is, do I get both of those knights on WTC? The answer probably is, do you bring both of those knights out to try and see the sense?
Their job is to get up into your guilds. I mean, I could have sat there behind and go, I'm not going to come out because you're going to shoot them. And then I've got 500 points of models or 490 points of models doing nothing the whole game or whatever. But you would not, and it's not if you, the deployment, where you deploy the firing lines, the movement lines, you're then stuck in a situation is, do I take my Lehman Russes up to shoot at stuff, or do I get my transports up to try and get onto objectives? And I do not think you're able to. If we play on WTC terrain in 2 turns, you'd probably pop one. You're certainly not going to get enough line of sight to pop 2 knights and a lancer.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
I just struggle to see how I'd move that badly with more terrain, and B, you're that much of a genius that you can literally bring your full army.
You doubt me. You doubt my genius.
So that's I think you just got to take it into a massive pinch of salt. The fact that the advantage of having Hammer of the Empire was not needed on that board yesterday because there were very, very few pinch points. And yes, there was plenty of line of sight blocking terrain, but you could just go, you know what, here's 10 inches for my Lehman Russ, and I'm going to go across both sets of terrain and get.
Yeah. It's interesting. WTC terrain is really weird because on the one hand it's incredibly dense, but on the other hand there can be very, very long firing lanes, but they're sort of long firing lanes. Let's say sort of to try and explain this. Imagine this screen is the board, where I am. There's a long firing lane from like here across to here, but then the units that are, let's say, over here can't do support fire. So there's like so this would be sort of semi-agreeing with you here, Simon. One of the things that happened yesterday is I was able to draw line of sight across to here and draw line of sight across from here. And that was why I was able to get 2 knights, is what Simon is saying. And what Simon is saying is, please correct me if I'm putting words in your mouth here, is if it was WTC, the units here would be in their strangely long firing lane, despite how dense it is coming across. But the units up here wouldn't have had the firing lane down to here.
Yeah. You physically can't get. There's always those firing lanes, and that's what I quite like. There's always the firing lanes, but they're not big enough that you can get 3 vanquishers and 2 tank commanders, or 2 lancers and 2 dreadnoughts all parked up on this one. So that's the point. That it's not that the firing lanes don't exist. My point is it's more difficult to get to those firing lanes.
There's less overlapping fields of fire than individual fields of fire.
Yeah. So this isn't about which terrain's better than the other, because it's not. I'm just saying.
You just play differently on each one.
Purely, if I was, my gut feeling, and we'll probably be able to discuss this after teams, is that if I was going to WTC with my net list, I will be taking Hammer, and if I was going to Adepticon, I'd be taking
Combined.
I'd be, yeah.
So,
And that's my gut feeling after 2 or 3 games with Mech. Couple of played you that might. If they always say you look at the training, you go from there. If it's a dense WTC board, I'm taking a hammer because I want the movement. I want to put pressure on. I want to. If I'm going to have a shooting gallery or more of it, I'm going to have less
Reporting for
movement
duty, sir.
restrictions to get to those firing lanes, because that's what it is. Blake, it's not the firing lanes, it's how easy is it to get to the firing lanes to shoot. Then I'm gonna, if it's more, the easier it is to do that, the more shooting I want. The harder it is to do that, the more maneuverability I want.
yeah. That's fair. That's fair. I think that's a fair assessment, and I think it's a really, really good point. We're making some good points today, Simon. My God. This is not what the people tune in for. They tune in for chicanery and shenanigans. Well, I say that actually. No, I think the people, it's a mixture. It's a mixture. But no, I think it's a good point. And it's something I've been banging on about for years, which is people send me army lists and are like, what do you think of my list? And one of the things I always try and say to them is, what kind of terrain are you playing on?
Yeah.
Because if you send me a list that's got loads and loads and loads of shooting, and it's on GW terrain, I'm going to say that's a really good list. You sent me exactly the same list, and we end up playing on WTC terrain, and it's like you need to fundamentally change the list. Exactly the same list, 2 different terrain layouts. Great example of this is shout out to Icanthos, who joins the live streams regularly. He recently started playing a lot more on WTC terrain, and he was like, "What the hell is this, bro?" He'd been playing, I think, on a lot of. I can't remember if it was GW or if it was just like homebrew terrain or whatever. But he had been playing on one terrain format, and then he started playing a lot on WTC. His local club were like, "We're going to go competitive. We're going to go on WTC. We're going to go to more events and stuff." And he literally was like, "How does guard even function on this? How does guard even function?" And it's a great point of how does guard function on this. Because our artillery's been nerfed, our combat options have been nerfed. Strachan going away is a big deal. Strachan was a fantastic combat unit, and then Bulgrin's being so expensive. What do Guard do? Well, the answer is you go Hammer of the Emperor.
Or a lot of infantry.
I don't know if pure infantry is the answer.
I'm not saying pure infantry. No, I said combined.
I don't know. Yes, Simon, pure infantry. I don't know if. I know this is me, Skinwalker Mordian. I'm not sure if infantry is the answer, just because of how easy it is to stage at the moment. There's so many fast-moving units. Like Space Wolves have got basic Marines running around on 7-inch movement now, and they just go, "I'm going to stage here. The next turn, move out and charge."
Yeah,
it's really, really hard for infantry at the moment because the enemy often is getting to your infantry platoons unsoftened up. And they have all the possible staging points they could possibly want, which is why I argue that the Death Strike is actually a very meta unit at the moment. Because you can put the Death Strike tokens down in the place people want to stage and really mess with their plans. But that people aren't completely convinced by that idea. Quick observation I do want to make about this is I sort of touched on this earlier, but I wanted to circle around it quickly because I don't want to forget this point. I think combined arms is very mechanized combined arms, very CP light. I think mechanized Hammer of the Emperor very CP heavy. It's just a very small point, but I think it's important. I think it's a very important point. Something that I noticed yesterday. I didn't really feel like I needed any stratagems from my detachment.
Well, it's going to be interesting because the CP with the way you can burn objectives is changing, isn't it, in the new mission deck?
I don't know. I'll take your word for it.
I think so. Yeah, I've read something. I've not done that much, but it's my holiday reading.
Okay. Yeah. Fair enough. But yeah, I mean, if that, to be fair, if that change means more CP, then I think that actually makes Hammer of the Emperor stronger because it's like, well, screw Leontis, I'll more Hellhounds. And if that goes the other way, and it's like it's going to mean that it's going to cost more CP to do it, then it's like, oh my god, thank God Leontis is going to be here. So yeah, it depends on which way it goes. We'll see, but maybe Hammer the Emperor gets 150 points point break without having to take Leontis anymore. That'd be pretty big. That's an extra tank. Yeah. One thing I do want to talk about though And this is actually quite a serious point. It's quite a big point. And I've got a bit of a confession, Simon.
Oh God.
I've been struggling with guard recently.
Been what?
I've been
Calories?
struggling. I've been calorying guard recently. I've been struggling with guard recently. I don't think it's
Right.
any. I don't think it's any secret that before I went away on holiday, I was looking at Horus Heresy. This. Now, everyone, my wrists were getting tired from wanking Horus Heresy off so much. I was looking at Old World. Like, I just wasn't feeling the guard. And I think now by two, I was definitely a little bit burned out. 2 weeks off, and I'm back, and I'm like, God, 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 God. So that just goes to show the power of having a holiday. But I think the big thing is the last 2 games I've run my guard, I've run combined arms. I have run combined arms hybrid, and I have run combined arms mech. And the reason why I've started rediscovering my love for the guard is because before those 2 games, I was running anything but combined arms. I hadn't actually run combined arms with the codex. I'd run recon, I'd run siege, I'd run hammer, and I did enjoy hammer, to be fair. But it was a bit of a meme game, hammer versus knights. You know what I mean? And then I'd run bridgehead I'd run index bridgehead, to be fair. But the point is, I'd been running a lot of not combined arm stuff, and you know what I found, man? And this is one thing that really, it's making me hesitate around Hammer of the Emperor. I felt like I was anemic. I felt like my army was anemic. I felt my damage output was just so pathetic. Game after game after game, where I roll all these dice and I'm like, oh, I killed like 4 gene stealers. Do you know what I mean? And I know I'm not. I don't. I'm. It's not just that though. It's like when I went to the super major and I ran recon, and I was like, it was just game after game after game of just like, I'm firing all of these shots. I'm doing everything I can, and I'm barely achieving any damage dealing whatsoever. And it wasn't just the fact that, oh, Mordian doesn't want an overpowered army. It wasn't that at all. It was the fact that the army didn't feel powerful. It felt like it was fighting with one hand behind its back. It felt like it was wheezing. It was coughing up its lungs. That's what it felt like. And going back to combined arms, it has really just made me. It has made the army just feel so much more fun. Like, my tanks actually do damage again. My infantry actually does damage again. And I just think that I think we need to talk about this. I think we need to talk about combined arms versus hammer. It's all well and good, hammer, dancing around. It kind of reminds me, hammer's like that guy in Indiana Jones waving the sword around. He's waving the sword around, doing all these fancy tricks. Yeah, 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 yeah. And then combined arms just pulls the pistol out and goes, poof. That's what I'm feeling right now. What are your thoughts, Si?
You just want a big red eye win button.
No, I don't. I can't stress this enough. I don't care about winning and losing. I just don't want my army to feel like a bag of piss.
You should, yeah. I honestly, yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Are you speechless? Have I left you speechless?
You should try running Grey Knights.
No, man. I've said this from day one. I fully sympathise with Grey Knight players. The fact that Grey Knight players were forced to jump around being pussy-o bitches made the army unfun for Grey Knight players, and it made the army unfun to play against. And I want to say I have mad respect for the Grey Knight community, because even though arguably the jumpy around detachment is more powerful, 90% of the players have jumped onto the other one because it actually has a bit of teeth to it. And they're just like, thank God, I don't care if I lose every game, at least my units don't feel like they're playing with Nerf guns and foam bats.
Now, to be fair.
Okay, fair enough. But at first, people were saying they preferred the old one, and people just went, I don't care. I've got teleport fatigue. I want to go over to just chopping people up. And then it's turned out that was the better way of doing it.
Yeah. I'm not bad into that at all. No,
You
because
don't think? Hang on.
I've been on. I've been on the receiving end of your. Here we go. Here's 20 Kriegers with two this, two of that, and blah, 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 and that, and that, and that. So just because you can't sit in the backfield with three vanquishes and just delete whatever you want on demand, does not mean it's, if you just want to, what you're saying is there's other styles of playing guard other than gunline, and you don't like playing other styles other than gunline. It's probably not what you're saying, but that's what you can.
That is not what I'm saying at all. What is this? The Shawshank Redemption? You're being obtuse.
I just said no, but I have been on the other end of
Tim
you.
says, I'm not complaining about being able to blow people off the board. I just don't want my army to feel weak. Simon here's, I want a gunline.
No, I've been on the receiving end of you absolutely smashing me to pieces with non non-combined arms several times in this edition.
When?
The Necron games.
Use combined arms.
Not that one you didn't. You played the narrative game. You weren't running combined arms.
First one I was, and you smashed the piss out of me. The second one I used Bridgehead.
Yeah,
it's a narrative game. I don't think you can count narrative games for this. Yeah. Put the narrative games to one side.
Okay.
Look at the first game we played with the Codex, and you had Mechanized Guard.
Yeah.
And how bad did it feel?
Yeah, it was terrible.
I rest my case.
Yeah. Well, no, that's just because that's just one detachment, and it's and I'm convinced that's the worst detachment in the book.
When we played Tyranids versus Siege Detachment.
Yeah, that's because you were playing around with that stupid Bullgrin blob.
That's a good tactic. Don't diss the tactic. But the point is, that's a second attachment, and how did my firepower feel?
Because you didn't have any. You didn't have any in the list.
I had 4 limit Russes, bro. What are you on? Are you high? Stop sniffing your own farts, man.
No. Yeah. Actually, no. Let's rephrase that one though, because you were running that against a list, a horde list. So
wasn't that hoardy? It was like 100 bugs, 80 to 100 bugs. That's what a horde list. That's
hoardy. Might not be hoardy for you, but that's pretty hoardy.
This guy, he's the elite player's mind cannot comprehend a true horde.
If you are either a closet tout player where you just want to, I mean,
it's not that at all. Okay, I'll try and explain it a bit better. I just want to table people. Oh God damn it! No. Being serious. No, it's maybe it's just a sense of familiarity. Maybe it's the fact that I hadn't quite got to, maybe it's Maybelline. I don't know, but it wasn't the. I have no desire or inclination to line up and blast one off the board without moving anything. No, I really enjoy movement. I like the imagery of like tanks rolling down. Yeah, I actually quite like playing on urban boards and like L-shaped ruins, because even though it looks like crap, if you could use your imagination, you can imagine the tanks driving down and like blasting things and all that kind of stuff. Infantry working their way through. I like all that. What my problem was, it's nothing to do with like sitting back and blasting people. There's been many times that I've had to aggressively push tanks forward, aggressively push forward. I mean, I was quite aggressive and put pressure on you in our game yesterday. I was like, scout forward, everything will go. You even said to me, I said, oh, I was a bit more aggressive in that game than usual. And you went, no, you weren't. That's just how you usually play. So it's just a few games before that, obviously, I was playing a little bit more timidly. And I think it's not a case of I want to sit back and blast people. It's a case of I want to like roll my dice and actually feel like there's a point to me rolling my dice. And I think if I was to try and bring another point in to try and illustrate this, one of the criticisms that I have of playing against custodies a lot of the time, and let me know if you have this issue, is sometimes custodies can feel so tanky that you feel like you're just wasting your time. If someone's just rolling hot and they're making them 4-pin runs again and again and again, it can be one of the most frustrating things in the game. This is when you look online, it's one of the things people complain about custodies with. One of the things I've complained about custodies with is that it just, you can fire like everything into them and they just don't die.
Right, but then Krieg from the first half of this edition. All I'm trying to say is that having a shitload of tanks that are hitting on 3s with lethal hits is quite, that's not a standard thing that most factions have.
No.
I'm not getting into, so yeah, you probably, there's not that many you don't have access to re-rolls in the guard, in the guard code. I get all that, but I've been on the receiving end of it quite a few times this edition. I would say probably more than virtually anyone else in the, because so I can promise you that you roll an awful lot of dice and you do an awful, and the majority of games we generally go, and this is what, when we played Heresy last week, was the fact that you're going to roll bucket loads of dice at me and kill me, and I struggle to kill you to the same extent. And that's not a criticism. That's just the way those games. And I honestly, never one point sat there playing your guard at any shape, level, and gone, no, that's really toothless, ever.
Not even when it was Siege. Not even when you use mechanized. You're just lying. He's just lying. He's just lying. You chatting shit, bro. You after that mechanized game. Do I need to pull the footage up? Do I need to? Jamie, pull that up.
When I ran mechanized, because my list was crap. It had 2 Rogel Dawns in there. And we've talked time and time again that Rogel Dawns aren't exactly. You were running Hammer at that game, weren't you?
No, I was running Recon.
Oh yeah, it was Recon. That's right. Yeah. So the fact that I was hitting everything on 5s and blah 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 blah. So that was nothing to do with God. That was to do with that I didn't have enough teeth in my list. Yeah, because the list was crap.
I feel like I'm going insane. I think we're agreeing, but we're coming from different angles. Okay, so let me speak in a language that your elite player brain can understand. All right.
I'll only play it.
Just for now, in this scenario, you are the devil's advocate, the elite player advocate. Okay.
Right.
Grey Knights. That's where we're starting. Toothless. Yeah. And how frustrating was that?
Right. There is no way at any point you can combine guard firepower to Grey Knights.
I'm not doing that. I promise. No, I promise I'm not doing that. I promise, okay? Bear with me, okay? So you've played Grey Knights since before 10th edition.
Yeah.
And apart from that one weird moment when 10 conscripts beat like 5 Terminators, which was a total meme, which happened in like 7th edition or whatever it was. Generally speaking, Grey Knights have felt like quite a punchy melee army. Maybe not as durable, even though they've got like a lot of Terminators, maybe not quite as durable as you want, but they're relatively fighty, right? So before 10th edition, Grey Knights, fighty, feel fighty, great.
Yeah.
Come over to 10th edition, Index, Grey Knights lose their teeth, right?
Right, yeah.
So just not comparing it to Guard for a second, just remove,
I get that.
remove Guard. Yeah. You as a Grey Knight collector, it didn't feel very good when your army, which you had got used to being slicey dicey, went to being pussy-o bitches that had to teleport all over the place hiding from the fight, did it?
Yeah, but I agree with that. If you're now going to say this is what's happened to God,
no,
then
I'm not. So I'm not gonna say, I'm not comparing the two factions. So you have been there where you've seen that mentality, you've seen that shift in your fact, you've seen a shift happen and it felt bad, and then when the Grey Knights new detachment came out and they got a bit of teeth back, that felt good again, right?
Right, yeah. I mean,
Okay.
I didn't mind it. Yeah, but
You
carry
didn't
on.
mind it, but it was nice that the teeth came back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Still never played that one yet, by the way. So,
You have played it on the channel.
no, I haven't. Not the new detachment. I haven't.
Oh yeah.
I haven't.
Okay. Well, that will
Anyway,
won't worry about that. Okay. So what I'm saying is not that guard firepower is equivalent to Grey Knight firepower or anything like that. What I'm saying is, me personally, but also I think a lot of the problems that, a lot of the reason why people have been kind of funky on the guard codex is even though there's a lot of flavor there, siege attachment, flavorful, recon attachment, so cool, mechanized assault, whilst bit shit,
yeah.
it's still kind of cool. And hey, who doesn't love Ogren's been jumping out of a chimera,
Yeah,
blasting things, right? But we've gone from having units and having our tanks being able to do damage, and then when we go to the other detachments which don't do the damage, it can feel like your army is very anemic relatively from where it was. So not in comparison to other armies, but relatively to where it was. So what I'm saying is one of the reasons.
What you're saying is, if you go from the shooty detachment to a less shooty detachment, it feels less shooty.
What I'm saying, it sort of, but on a serious note,
What you're
what I'm
saying.
saying is the reason why I've been struggling to get behind the guard is that I want to go and try these. I want to go and try these other detachments out. I want to. I want to love siege detachment. I want to love recon detachment. I want to love. I want to love Bridget. I want to love all these different detachments. But the problem is that when I go over to those detachments, it feels like the army is out of breath. It feels like the army, and it doesn't feel. And this is the point I'm trying to get to. I'm sorry it's taken us a bit of a roundabout way to get there. So appreciate your patience to you and the viewers. But it feels like I want to try these things out, but I can't try these things out because if I actually want to be competitive, I need to run combined arms. And when I run combined arms, my army feels good again because I'm actually able to do damage and I'm actually able to do. When I roll a Lehman Russ down the fucking street, I get to blast something. Not I roll a Lehman Russ down the street and the equivalent of a small flag with bang comes out the end of the gun. That's what I'm saying. And I don't think the trade-off in those other detachments is worth it. And that's why I think we've seen everyone go and try other detachments, people being hyped up for Siege, trying it out, being quite disappointed, and then inevitably everyone's back to playing combined arms, apart from Hammer of the Emperor. And one of the things that I'm saying has made me hesitant about Hammer of the Emperor is
The other codex is out there like that.
yeah,
You get you get 6 things, and of which one is competitive, one's the second most competitive, and then the others are just really never get played anywhere near competitive. Yeah, I'm not. I have been on the receiving end of your firepower, and just because you haven't got, I'm going to delete whatever I want to delete when I want to delete it button. And I know you're not. It's not about winning. I get that, but that's not a bad thing. Because not.
we are playing in an edition now which is hyper lethal. Okay, we're playing in an edition where if you don't have the ability to have I want to delete stuff, the other person, the other side table is going to have that button, Simon. They're going to have that button. Space Marines, Ultramarines are putting double oath on people and butt fucking them. So you can say it's not a bad thing. And again, I agree with you. There are codexes out there which have got 6 attachments and no one runs half of them. And it's coming back. I mean, that's a whole different topic. We should save that for another day. But what I'm saying is like, you can say, oh, it's not a bad thing. Oh, I'm glad I don't have to face those unkillable Krieg blobs. By the way, I think the unkillable Krieg blobs going away probably is a good thing because it was kind of silly Krieg just tanking like 1 billion shots. But what I'm saying is, when I play guard and I don't run the damage dealing attachment, my army feels weak and it doesn't feel like it's getting other things to make up for the lack of damage. And people on the other side of the board, other factions, just smash the fuck out of me.
Okay.
That's the problem I'm having. And I think if you look at what makes Hammer of the Emperor powerful, is it's the movement that's being given to damage dealers, aka let's look at Kazakin. Kazakin flying forward, jumping out, and blasting people. That's why Hammer's powerful. It's not necessarily, it's the movement giving agency to damage dealers. It's not the movement on its own.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is, I have been off my guard because I've not the other. I've been trying the other detachments, and they've just not been feeling good.
Yeah.
And what do you think about that?
Yeah. I'm not you, so I don't play guard often enough as you know to really form that opinion. But having been on the other end of it, you know, and I've not been to competitive tournaments against, but I've never sat there against any of your guard armies and gone, yeah, this feels really like it's not going to do much damage.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's you know, in 8th edition when you had you know, yeah, guard hitting on 4, you had no real, you know, with this edition you've had Krieg blobs hitting on 2s. Yeah, you've had so that's exactly so, you know, we've talked about this ad nauseum where you've had Krieg blobs that hit better than Grey Knights and have just as good a save almost, right? But they come back. You've got tanks now that hit on 3s, just, you know, the standard. I mean, literally, I'm just like, you know, I was you know, I'm a guard commander at heart, but you've got guard tanks that are generally hitting as well as Space Marine tanks. All right, they've got over the moment. I do appreciate that. You know, you've got guard tanks that hit as well as Imperial Knights. You've got guard tanks.
Better armor save.
Uh,
Better armor save.
yeah. So you're not allowed to have everything.
What? Since when?
Just, you know,
Who is the ruler of the galaxy right now, Simon?
just me by yesterday's comments.
True. That's true. No, I think you make a good point. I think you make a good point, and it's always important to like keep an open mind and to, you know, when we're having a discussion like this, which is I think quite a serious discussion for us, which is quite, you know, which is a novel thing. I think you make a good point. I've actually said from day one that I think Guard have been eating good in 10th edition, but and I think, you know, having good armor saves. I think looking back to how I think Guard have eaten good in 10th. I think we've had a lot of nerfs and stuff here and there, like artillery and whatnot. But I think overall Guard have been eating good. The only point I'm not even going to disagree with it. I'm just going to say I think Guard have been eating good. I do get that. I do. The only thing I was really saying was that I wish that the other detachments didn't feel so anemic.
Yeah, no, I can get that, but you know, and is that how you build into it? I don't know, but I just it makes lethal hits feel like a bit of a crutch in all honesty.
Yeah, you know what? I would agree with that. Lethal hits is a hell of a drug, and it's very hard to go cold turkey on lethal hits. I mean, I tried, and I relapsed, and now I'm all about those lethal hits again.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, army-wide lethal hits is just wild when you think about it.
I just think that there's in this edition the guard have got some really great deep data sheets and
Yeah,
some
I would agree
really
with that.
great buff in those data sheets, and that you can bring an awful lot of firepower as a guard commander for not a lot of investment.
Yes, I would say that is true.
I mean, if you and again, you know, talking about matchups and blah blah blah, blah from yesterday, but that list I brought is incredibly shooty. Well, not maybe incredibly shooty, but it's got a lot of armor on there. It's got a lot of high toughness.
It was very intimidating, I have to say.
And you just blasted it. Now I know the game was close, and I'm not, you know, but actually you absolutely smashed it on that first to the point where it was You know, and you saw it like you killed 3, I killed 2, you killed 2, I killed 1, and that was, you know, and that was the point. Most other lists ain't going to have that much armor, so
Yeah.
you could have literally then been in the game when I played against the Orcs, you know, when we're playing against the whatever the thing, where it was just like, well, you know what, I've killed all your big hitters now on turn 2. What are you going to do? You know,
Yeah.
because I'm actually got nothing. So I think
That's a good point.
Yeah, it's all I'm trying to say is I would you have killed all 3 without that? No, probably not. Would you have killed 2? Yes. And would you killing 2 be a reasonable result? Yes, I think it is. You know, if you're sitting there going, if you look at it as a guard commander and someone blatted 2 of your Lehman Russes in one turn of shooting, would you go, that's quite a shooty killy list?
Yeah.
So, you know, if they blasted 3 off the table in one turn of shooting, would you go, fuck me, that's ridiculous amount of shooting?
Yes.
Yes, exactly.
But I think it is important to acknowledge that what else can guard do? So
But you can still do a lot.
Hang on. Let me, because this might be a thought-provoking moment for us and the viewers, and for Games Workshop if they ever stumble across this. What else can guard do? What melee options do we have?
But you're not a melee army.
Okay, but we used to do a little bit of everything. We've always primarily been focused on shooting, but the idea of being able to run combat guard, I was doing it at the beginning of the edition, and I've been doing it. I've done it in previous editions as well. What else can guard do but shoot? Let's, for the sake of argument, say not much. We're not a shooting army. We're not outside of Hammer of the Emperor. We're not a particularly fast army. Especially if you've got to take into account pivots and going around all the ruins and whatnot. Bit of move can be very nice here and there, but I'd say we're not like Eldar levels of movement. Primarily, guard are a shooting army. So, this is just, it's coming into my head now, so I'm trying to coalesce this at the same time. If primarily we're a shooting army, and we then go into a detachment which doesn't give us any shooting, or doesn't support what is fundamentally our faction, that's probably why they feel kind of weak and a bit crappy. Whereas you say, oh, well, you know, you were able to kill 3 of my vehicles in shooting. That's true. But I've been on the receiving end of melee armies which have come in and blasted half my army off at the board in melee in one go, like World Eaters and whatnot. And I'm not there. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not that we don't then criticize World Eaters for doing that.
Yeah, no, okay, but right.
If you don't take a World Eaters attachment. Okay, let's then take a World Eaters attachment, which gives them loads of shooting benefits, and then wonder why the World Eaters think that those attachments feel a bit weak.
Okay, so just to counter that, and I'm arguing against it when I'm.
No, it's okay. I'm always open to having my mind changed.
You're not a shooting army, right? Because you're a board control army if you want, because you can just run boatloads of infantry. You can get a blob of infantry that's 90 OC, right? There's no other army that does that. You say you're not okay. Yeah, you're not Eldar levels are quick, but actually, how far can you get a move squad to move on an advance with a move?
On average, 12.
Right. Okay. So they're not. Right. There you go. So you're quicker than most factions on your foot. Go on. Well, okay. What's a space marine?
Crunching my nose up because there's a lot of armies out there like that can have movement 12 infantry and then can advance and can then charge. You got to think maneuverability isn't just in the movement phase. Maneuverability is.
No.
Anyway, I'm scrunching my face up. I interrupted. Finish your point. I apologise.
My point is that no, you're not as quick as Eldar. Okay, but Eldar can't put 90 OC for 110 points on an objective. Yes, Space Wars or some of the other factions might be able to advance and charge, but they can't put Vanquishers on the table for 140 and do. So I've always thought Guard are a Swiss Army knife. Yes, they're primarily a shooting army, but actually you've got, I mean, and actually the army rule is orders. That means you can adjust what you want to do with individual units for a particular. No one else has that. So yes, if you go in the shooty detachment, yes, it is more shooty, but you're not meant to be as quick as Eldar. You're not meant to be as but you are meant to be shootier than Eldar. So you're actually, it's a it's a as a faction you can do bits of everything quite well. Apart from possibly so I get on your point that, but my point is that you're saying that I don't think you have to be in combined arms to be shooty. I really yes, it does give you a massive buff up to I get that, but it's
so I would say there's parts that I agree with and there's parts that I disagree with. So the parts that also, can I just say, great conversation, loving it, actually loving it, and I hope the viewers back home are loving it as well. And I hope that they can see that we're making good points back and forth, that you're keeping your mind open, that I'm keeping my mind open. I think we've given a bit of ground, we've taken a bit of ground. That's how it should be. But anyway, going back to where it is, I agree with you that traditionally Guard are a Swiss Army knife. I think that where we are right now is some of those other tools in the Swiss Army knife maybe have blunted, and we're basically kind of just down to the knife bit, and the corkscrew isn't doing as much as it should be. This analogy isn't great, but and let me give me 1 second. So what I would say is, I think a big part of it is it feels like you say we shouldn't have to be in the shooty detachment. You can do good shooting outside the shooty detachment.
Yes.
Obviously, it very much depends on who we're facing off against. So if I'm facing off against World Eaters, my shooting is going to feel obviously better than their shooting. But it's not necessarily about just doing damage in the shooting phase. What I'm saying is, if we sort of look outside of the shooting phase for a moment, we just combine all damage that Guard can do. Guard only really seems to be able to do damage if you're not in combined arms. Your shooting is significantly lower. Okay, that's fair enough. And the point that I'm kind of saying is, I don't feel like the other detachments really give enough of a benefit to make up for losing that. So you feel like,
if you want to have the conversation that combined arms is by far and away the best attachment in the book, then yeah, okay. I'll agree with you. But my point is that it's not. You don't have to be in that to be a very killy a very killy army. I just do not buy that in the slightest. I really don't, and I think that the utility and the different ways of playing, and again, I think Necrons. If you want to be a killy Necron, you have to run Star Shatter. Or you run Catans. Grey Knights literally had, you're saying that you've had utility. Grey Knights literally had a whole phase taken off them because, literally every unit in 10th edition is now psychic.
Yeah.
Yeah, every unit. There's not many units are there any units that don't have a data card ability?
No, everyone gets a unique one. Unless you're in Legends or something.
Yeah. So literally everyone's got a unique ability, as do the Grey Knights. So they completely lost their psychic.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Is now everyone's got it.
And typically, if I may say, psychic is actually a bit of a debuff, because often you don't get any benefit for having a psychic weapon, but someone will get like a anti-psycho 4+ and they end up diddling you. So yeah, I know I'm on board with you here.
Yeah, so I've not played the other detachments enough or at all in some cases, but yes, I would argue the fact that if you're hitting on 4s, right, in like an 8th, where the whole army hit on 4s and quite often 5s, and for a time 6s, then yeah, I'd be going, all right, yeah, it needs. But actually, the whole army now hits on 3s. I mean, literally, you can just plaster enough orders across that table that the whole army hits on 3s. When was the last time you hit on 4 natively with the guard without a debuff?
It's interestingly, I have basically never ever hit on 4s because obviously never ever is a bit of an exaggeration, but the point is that in older editions, if your unit hit on 4s, you didn't take it. This is why when GW had tank commanders and like the 8th edition codex had a native ballistic skill of 3+, and the regular Russ had a ballistic skill of 4+, no matter how cheaper they made the regular Russes, people always took tank commanders because hitting on a 3 was such a big deal. But now everything hits on 3s.
Yeah, so I'm just saying that you've got an army that generally hits as well as Space Marines. So I'm not buying into the fact that it's without playing combined arms, it's toothless. I'm not having that.
Okay.
I'm not getting into what faction or anything like that.
Okay.
But I'm absolutely not buying the fact that you have to run combined arms to make it a killy list. Is it the best list? I'll probably agree with you on that one. But I'm not. If you stuck 3 Leman Russ tank commanders and 3 Leman Russ vanquishes in in a siege detachment, is that going to do some heavy lifting if it gets the right? Yes, it is. And as much heavy lifting, no, but it's still going to smash stuff.
It's an interesting point. I mean, at the end of the day, I guess a Russ is a Russ, I suppose. I would say from a hypothetical point of view, I think that does make sense. Like, if you've got 6 Russes, that's going to do damage, right? For me, it just feels like what looks like it should make sense on paper struggles to make sense, struggles to actually translate to tabletop. I feel like I've tried running lots of the. I tried running damage dealers outside of combined arms, and I felt like the drop off was just insane, and it did feel kind of anemic. I'm not saying they didn't do any damage, but they did feel kind of anemic.
Last point on this.
Yeah.
Careful what you wish for.
What do you mean?
Because what do you want them to the other sudden going to go, actually, that combined arms is so far more killy than everything else in the...
Yeah, well, that's what... Yeah, GW, the monkey's paw will curl, and they'll be like, oh, so that means we need to nerf combined arms, right?
So, yeah. As a Star Shatter player, careful what you wish for.
No, it's a good point. I think it's a good point. I think it's a fair point. I think we'll agree. We'll sort of leave it there. I think we've both agreed in a few bits. We've disagreed in a few bits. That's okay. One thing I would. Oh, sorry, you got.
I'll have to. Want to change the subject completely at some point.
Okay, we'll change. I've got one thing to say. It's still about guard. It's about detachments, but I think it's a good sort of hanging chad, as it were. A good question to leave in the air. I think the reason why combined arms and hammer are very good at the moment and also very popular at the moment is because I feel like they make the player feel like they're proactive rather than reactive. I think combined arms, it gives you that confidence to go out there and smash people because you've got the lethal hits. And I think hammer, you've got such maneuverability with that like auto advance 6 stuff that you're just like, I'm going to come and get you. So I think those 2 detachments are very aggressively minded detachments, not defensively minded detachments. And it seems that we're at the stage we are in 10th edition right now, via the meta, via the balance, via the terrain, via everything, it seems that we're in a lethal part of the edition. And so those detachments which reward attacky mentalities, aggressive mentalities, are being rewarded in the win rates as well.
Yeah.
Okay. But Simon, I just want to say before we move on, I want to say big thank you. Oh, but he's got.
On the screen there.
That's okay. Don't worry. I wasn't ending the video. I just want to say Really appreciate the vigorous back and forth debate there. I think you made some very good points. I want to say thank you for, fighting your corner. And I also want to say big thank you to the viewers, and I hope that they enjoyed it. And of course, we invite them to agree with us, to disagree with us, to throw in points we haven't thought about. Get it down in the comment section. I think it's a good point to mention that. All right, Simon. We are running quite long on this video already, but I know you've got something very exciting you want to show off. So why don't we end the video on a positive note? Hey! So you've got high up armor now, haven't you?
Yeah, check this, and then I got one of these as well. Look.
Holy shit, man! What the hell is that? Griffin thing.
Yeah. So yeah.
You need to get yourself the Forces of Fantasy book now.
I've got that.
Oh, nice. Have you got the Arcane Journal?
No, I've ordered it. It's coming with my card.
You don't. It's not. You don't need the Arcane Journal. They're very much optional supplements.
But yeah, finally got them. Finally got an old world.
He's only gone and done it. He's got an old army, and what was it, like 6,000 points for £300?
Yeah. Well, depending with that, about 4,000, I think.
4,000 points of old world high elves for 300 quid. That's not a bad deal.
The paint job is amazing as well.
Pre-painted as well. There's Americans right now watching the video crying in the corner. Little do the Americans know that Warhammer is so prolific in the UK that we don't have tumbleweed. Our tumbleweed is tumble sprues, and it's just sprues that have blown together and are bouncing down the roads. There you go. That's how rhinos are free.
Yeah. So we've got to play it now.
Yeah.
I'm not playing it for 12 minutes.
Post teams, we're going to get a bit. We've got one or two more practice games, and then teams tournament. Post teams, first bat rep we do. Sign with the high elves. Me with the dwarves.
We're not playing gunline.
War with the beard. I don't have a gun line with my dwarves. I only have one cannon, one organ gun. It's very, very.
I don't want to play. I've got no idea what I'm doing. But yeah, thought I'd
probably
show off my dragon.
I'll either bring dwarves or I'll bring orcs and goblins. Both will be a fun game because dwarves hate elves, so that's a bit of memes there, and orcs and goblins are happy fighting everyone. So there you are. I think we'll have to give it a proper show off, and we'll have to do a SaltCast about your first game with high elves and all that kind of good stuff.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Now I've got an army. I'm very excited.
You have been thinking about high elves for about a year now.
Yeah.
You finally done it.
Yeah, finally found one.
So Emperor Shulden on the back burner then for a bit.
No, because that's my next painting project. So don't need to worry about them. My high elves now, they're good to go.
Nice. Oh yeah, I suppose are they all painted or most of them?
Painted.
Oh right, wow, amazing.
All to a really good standard.
Okay, so you just need to endure, at the time of recording, 3 weeks of 40k, and then we can let you play Old World.
Well, I'm quite happy to play. I've quite enjoyed that list I ran yesterday, so yeah, all good.
Nice. All right, and on that note, I think we will bring it to a close. A bit of a long one today, but I think some very, very good, I think possibly our best, at least tactics discussion that we've ever done. I think some good points made by both sides, and I think also we should hopefully get a few comments about what people think down in the comment section. What is your experience with those detachments? Do you feel anemic outside of combined arms, or am I just a power gaming turd who just can't contemplate anything other than smashy smashy boom boom?
Yeah, that.
Okay.
You know what? Yeah, right. What are you going to do? Right, and we're going to do this now so people can see it. Well, I'm going to make you play an elite army against me.
Okay, which one?
I'll let you pick.
Death Guard.
No, because you just bring Horde Death Guard.
No. I'll bring an elite Death Guard.
No.
No, Simon. I'll bring the new Death Guard.
Reporting for duty, sir.
You heard it here first, viewers.
You're going to play my Grey Knights.
No, I'm going to play. You said I got to pick. I'm going to play Death Guard. I am. You said I'm a whacker piece of shit, bro. You said I'm a whacker piece of shit. Well, I will be a whacker, and I will smell like a piece of shit with my death guard.
No, you can play my Grey Knights.
I don't want to play Grey Knights. I don't like them.
I don't like Tyranids. You made me play it.
But you enjoyed using Tyranids.
Right, you might enjoy playing Grey Knights.
Okay. I will play a game of Grey Knights, but I need to see the whole codex. When the codex comes out. It won't be that long. It won't be that long. It won't be that long.
No.
I'm not using your shitty index Grey Knights, bro. Like, the jumping up and down, pulling each other off in the fucking wall. I'm not about that, okay? I want a proper Grey Knight codex, and then I'll run you Grey Knights.
No, not having it.
Okay, well, you'll be playing against yourself as I sit there in the corner being grumpy. No, I'll give it a go. I'll give anything a go once. But Grey Knights versus what, though?
I don't know. God.
I
will do to you what you have done to me many times.
I suppose it's only fair. Occasionally one has to lay back and think of England, I imagine.
The only problem will be, if you stuff me, then it's just absolutely, I'm just going to ever again.
That would be hilarious. It's like, oh, I like Grey Knights now. All right. No, I think it's going to be difficult because obviously I've never used them before, but I have played against them, so maybe there will be some transferable skills.
Yeah.
All right.
Or something. But something where you're massively outnumbered model-wise.
Yeah, I'll do Grey Knights versus Guard. It's fine. It makes sense.
Yeah.
What detachment are you going to use?
I don't know. I will not run. Tell you what.
You won't run combined arms.
You run Grey Knight.
Okay.
I will run a non-combined, non-mechanized list.
Non-combined, non-hammer. So you're going to make me use Grey Knights.
Yeah.
And you're going to use one of the detachments which I have said feel anemic and lack enough.
Yes.
And then we're gonna have a showdown.
Yeah.
All right. That I'll get behind. That I'll get behind. All right. That proves a point. That'll prove a point. Okay. Virtual shake on it.
Yeah.
And on that note, the gauntlet has been thrown down. The gauntlet of the duel has been thrown down. Simon, are you okay to wrap this up? Have you got any last bits you want to throw down?
Been a pleasure, as always.
Cool. Thank you so much, as always, for your time, Simon. And thank you to you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoyed this long episode. Let us know your thoughts about Simon's High Elves, thoughts about different detachments, thoughts about artillery teams. Just generally speaking, what are your thoughts and thunks about Guard, 40k, and everything else? What was that?
Kevin's fallen over.
Oh no, Kevin the cat's fallen over. Get him back up. There we go. There we are.
I have to put it in because my cats won't come on screen, so...
Same, to be honest, same. But all right, don't forget to like and subscribe, all that kind of good stuff. And of course, as always, I'll see you guys next time. Would you like to know more? If so, then please consider becoming a channel member or patron. By supporting the channel, not only will you be doing your part, but you'll also be helping me create more content for your viewing pleasure and unlocking a whole host of perks. You get everything from a badge next to your name, custom emojis, but the big one is access to the Mordian Glory Discord server, an online community with almost 2,500 active members. It's always popping off in the MG Discord. We've got channels for army lists, hobbying, tactics, stories, and even a pretty spicy meme section as well. For all you greenhorns that wanted to see the Mordian glory hole, today is your lucky day. And joking aside, I do want to say a massive thank you to all of the current channel members and Patreons. You guys are amazing. Truly the lifeblood of the channel. I could not do Mordian Glory full-time without the incredible and generous support of my members. So thank you guys so much. And last but certainly not least, I want to say a personal thank you to all of my top tier Patreons. These are the War Masters, the people who have truly gone above and beyond the call of duty. So a heartfelt thank you to Alex Dengal, Bon Vert, Lord Pryor, Mark Panconi, RJ Scorpion, Swordfish Trombone, Try Again Bragg, John Stubbs, Nick Walsh, Diesel Fox, and August Barney. Seriously guys, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Your support is incredible and it makes a huge difference. Thank you so much. That's all for now. Hope you've all enjoyed today's video, and of course, as always, see you guys next time.